Republicans dominate on election night, and the results bring a big boost for plans to allow public funding for private schools.
All families in the state of Texas deserve school choice, and that's going to happen.
But is Governor Abbott's plan truly a done deal? We look at the potential path for education savings accounts after the election.
We are seeing tonight generational change in South Texas.
Historic gains for Texas Republicans and fallout for Texas Democrats. The change is happening now after losses in traditional blue strongholds. A victory in Texas helps Republicans win control of the U.S. Senate. Why that win could help John Cornyn land one of the most powerful positions in American politics.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Republicans expanded their dominance of Texas politics on election night. By now, you know the story at the top of the ticket. Donald Trump overwhelmingly beat Kamala Harris, and Ted Cruz won re-election despite being outspent by Democrat Colin Allred. But deeper down the ballot, Republicans flipped judicial seats held by Democrats, and the GOP also gained seats in the Texas House. Those results had Governor Greg Abbott taking a victory lap of sorts. His efforts to push for legislation to allow public funding for private schools appears poised for success. Abbott attempted to push that legislation in the last session and a series of special sessions, but opposition from within his own party kept it from moving forward. So the governor threw his support behind candidates who would support that type of legislation. And at an event in Tyler on the day after the election, Abbott said those efforts appear to have paid off.
I made sure that we would elect Republicans to the Texas House of Representatives in sufficient number to be able to pass a school choice plan just like the Texas Senate has passed many times. Counting what I call only true hardcore school choice proponents, there are 79 votes in favor in the Texas House. It takes 76 votes to get it passed.
The next legislative session starts in January, but lawmakers can begin filing bills next week. We want to dig deeper into what happens after the election. Joining us for insight, Lauren McGaughy, the investigative reporter and editor for the Texas Newsroom at NPR, and Larry Gonzales, a Republican former Texas state representative. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
So, Lauren, we want to start with a bit of election fallout that you covered closely. Gilberto Hinojosa resigned as chairman of the Texas Democratic Party after the election losses, but also some controversial comments he made in an interview with the Texas Newsroom. What happened there?
Well, I think this was a pretty bit of surprising news this week, at least from my perspective. You know, we called the chairman after the election losses to get his perspective, and he had some thoughts on how immigration and transgender rights affected candidates at the polls, in his view. And so we put those out there, and he was forced to apologize. And then this morning he resigned. He framed it as just it's time to turn the torch over to a new generation. He's in his 70s and he's had his leadership challenge before, but people were telling me that those comments kind of hastened his resignation.
Well, Larry, these election results obviously bring a lot of new faces to the Texas House, as you're probably aware. Very aware. How does that change affect what happens at the ledge?
You know, there's going to be 32 new freshmen in the Texas House. That is not an insignificant number to contemplate. For a variety of reasons, there's 12 to 18 new chairmen. That's out of 34 standing committees to have 12 to 18 new chairmen. So there's going to be a lot of people in leadership positions that are going to be in charge. For the freshmen, welcome to the Texas House, and you need to jump in and get busy. Hopefully they bring their experience that they have in their previous life to the Capitol, and we plug them in and get them going.
Well, I want to get a take from both of you on the future of education savings accounts. Is Governor Abbott's school choice plan a done deal at this point? Lauren, we'll start with you.
Well, he says it is, right? I think we'll have to wait and see. There's going to be a lot of jockeying around who wins the speakership of the House, and I think that could potentially move around some votes depending on, where the speaker comes down on this and what alliances are made. That can always change, even right up to the day where they're voting on legislation.
How do you see it?
There are a lot of variables at play, to her point, but at the end of the day, the votes are there. What the bill looks like, what's included, are you still going to get the other things that were, right, the bill had teacher pay raise, had school safety, had a lot of other things, basic allotment. So the last bill had a lot of things in it. What will this one have? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I think the votes are there to move ESAs.
Larry, were there particular races or results that stand out to you from election night that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, when you look at the Rio Grande Valley and some of those races, there were two congressional races that were closer than people thought they were going to be. Senator LaMantia, lost her race in the Texas Senate as well. And I know the Democrats were looking at 7 races in the Texas House, and they weren't even close. I mean, the Republicans won pretty overwhelmingly. So I think a lot of Democrats were surprised by that. At the end of the day, there wasn't a whole lot of change. The Republicans are up a couple in the House. They're up 1 in the Senate. But overall, overarching, each chamber stays remarkably the same as far as the makeup of the body goes.
Lauren, what stood out to you?
Yeah, outside of the legislature, there was also some hopes among Democrats to be able to get some seats at the statewide level in the judicial races. That didn't happen at all. And I thought it was really interesting to watch how Houston voted, Harris County this time. This is thought of as yet another like blueberry in the red soup, and that was not the case. In fact, Harris won that area by a smaller margin than Joe Biden did. And so we kind of saw the entire state, even parts of the state that tend to vote more Democratic, shift to the right.
What to look forward to? Any takeaways that we can actually think are going to happen down the line?
I'm looking for Texas's involvement in the next Trump administration. There are several statewide officials or thought leaders from Texas that may be tapped for administration posts or just might have some say in policymaking. So I'm really interested to see how, it's kind of so goes Texas, so goes the nation. Maybe we'll see that with Donald Trump back in the White House.
Any takeaways for you?
I'm very much watching the budget. There's a lot of priorities there. You've got some huge bills coming up. I think the electric grid is still a very active topic. Water is going to get a lot of attention this session. Senator Perry has some wonderful ideas as far as water infrastructure goes. So you always watch that because the budget is a public statement of priorities. You can have some wonderful policy ideas, but if there's not the money to pay for it, then those don't happen. So always watch the budget, and that will tell you where the priorities are.
You two sound like you know what you're talking about.
Not my first time.
Well, thank you both for being with us.
All right, thank you very much.
Tonight, the people of Texas have spoken.
Ted Cruz claims victory in the race for Senate, and that could help the state's other senator.
And our country needs to make some tough choices, and we're the ones that make those on behalf of our constituents.
The looming vote that could put John Cornyn in a new position of power.
What the Republican Party represents now is what we stand by.
Democratic strongholds turning red. We look closer at the results in South Texas and how it could shape state and national politics moving forward. Texas law already bans most abortions, but voters in one city considered going a step further. The outcome for a proposal to add restrictions on women leaving the state to seek an abortion, and what comes next.